welcome to Scorched Earth. This is going to be a mid-month reading for the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon and Ascendant. I just want to say thank you for your continued support. Your likes, shares, subscribes, your donations, messages. I've had some really, really lovely messages from people recently. I do read everything, although I don't always have time to reply, so thank you for those, and do know that I am grateful for every last one of you. So let's have a look and see what's going on with you right now, Pisces. I have 3 cards for where Pisces energy is right now. The first card we've got is the Nine of Skies, which is the Nine of Swords in a standard deck. The second card we've got is the Three of Fire, which is the Three of Wands. One more card for Pisces is ooh, the Devil reversed. I like it. Ooh. There we go. So the Nine of Skies, or the Nine of Swords as it is in a standard deck, right? It's kind of looking slightly perilous there, although the comments or whatever coming in. It's a card of overthinking and it's a card of worry. It's a card of being concerned about things which may not necessarily have a basis in reality, or at least as much of a basis in reality as you currently suspect they might, right? And the thing that always comes to mind with that card is perspective, right? It's really important to not only achieve perspective but maintain it, right? Because in the standard interpretation the swords are stacked horizontally, right? And for me, swords up are good and swords down are bad, but when they're stacked horizontally they're kind of neutral. And so the only thing really that is available to you to assess whether that whether those swords, whether those things that you are worried about are positive or negative or in fact neutral, is the perspective that you have when you look at them, right? So you're suffering with a bit of overthinking, you're worrying about a few things, and to be honest, in the current climate that's not really a surprise. And then we've got this Three of Wands, right? And the Three of Wands is usually, it's usually got a merchant and he's looking out to sea, and he's kind of waiting for his ships to come in because he's done loads of groundwork, and he's invested time and effort in something, and now he's waiting for his return. But I don't see that with you here, because what we've got is 3 birds flying, and it feels like there's a yearning for freedom, a yearning to be, out of the situation that you currently find yourself in. Whether that's in a broad sense with what's going on in the world, or whether there's something very specific that's going on with you at the moment. These birds silhouetted, they look almost like phoenixes actually. I think maybe they are phoenixes. They're rising, but they're flying. They want to be free. But the final card that you've got for your current energy is the Devil reversed. Now, it's the card of Capricorn in the Major Arcana, and this way it talks about lots of negative and awful things. It talks about toxicity and codependence, abuse, and sometimes addiction and things like that. But it's quite I don't know. There's a slightly nightmarish quality to it. That little figure there stood in front of the skeletal beast has got a little doll in its hand, But it's come out reversed for you, which means it's sort of coming out of fear, right? And maybe you have been really, really worried about things, but you're starting to see what it is when you're letting your spirit kind of guide you. You're soaring a little bit away from the problems that you've been. Maybe you're just achieving perspective, actually. And that's how you're coming out of this devil energy here. Whatever it is that you've been overthinking, you are starting to gain perspective, and that as such you're coming out of this dark energy here, and that's really good. I really like to see that. Right, so let's have a looky here and see what's coming towards you for the last 2 weeks of April. the 15th to the 30th. But remember, time is fluid and it can kind of leach either way. It's coming towards Pisces, please. It's coming towards Pisces for the last 2 weeks. Try that again. It's coming towards Pisces, please, in the last 2 weeks of April. There you are. It's the Mystic. It's the High Priestess in a standard deck. That's really strong. I like to see that. It's coming towards Pisces. Getting lots of flippers, but nothing jumping. Okay. It's coming towards Pisces, please. Oh. Four of Oceans, which is the Four of Cups, but it's come out in reverse. I like that as well. It's coming towards Pisces, please. And the Lovers. It's kind of like a mariner's take on the Mermaid, I think. It's pretty cool. The sirens, something like that. So, the reason that I'm really pleased to see the Mystic or the High Priestess come out for you is because that is you coming back into your energy, because like this isn't like those two are not Piscean energies at all, right? It's kind of slightly stricken actually. This is you achieving perspective and releasing yourself, I think, is the thing, because like with this energy, it's usually very tethered, right? Because it's an Earth card. It talks about, well, not only being tethered, but kind of trapped, right? The natural state for a Pisces is a fairly ungrounded energy, right? You drift and you float and you do all of those kind of things. So any notion of tethering you is is deeply uncomfortable for Pisces. But here you are, coming back to yourself in a really impressive way. Like, who could be failed to be impressed by this chimera as it is? You know, it's a return to being guided by intuition. It's a return to your dreamlike state, right? It's a return to your inner knowing instead of an inner worrying about things, right? And then the next card that you've got is the Four of Oceans, or the Four of Cups. Now, this way around, it can talk about missed opportunities. It can talk about rejection. It can talk about taking things for granted, right? But this way up paints a very different picture. And this is somebody who is entirely grateful for everything that they have, right? They're not casting around looking for different cups, because the ones that they've got, they're truly delighted with, right? They're not ignoring offers that are coming in either. I love the art on these cards. It's so amazing. That little creature down there, right? And then we've got the Lovers. Now, this is the card of Gemini, and sometimes it can indicate a romantic relationship, but more often than not, I interpret it as a choice. And it's usually a fairly important choice, you know, not necessarily immediately life-changing, but something that may alter the direction that you're going in a way that you don't really anticipate. Maybe pull a clarifier for that, because I'm intrigued. But I think the fact that it's come out from this particular deck sort of, there's sort of a cautionary note about it, because what appears on the surface is not what lies beneath. I think you're being asked to be on your guard a little bit with this choice. Tell me about the Lovers, please. Why is this choice here for Pisces? What is this choice? Pisces need to know about the Lovers. Goodness. That's really quite incredible. The two cards that you've got are the Five of Cups and Death. Right? And Death is a card of Scorpio in the major arcana, right? It's a fellow water sign like you. Whenever I see the Lovers card, I like to have an either or, right? And it seems like there's an opportunity for transformation incoming, right? And the choice that you're being asked to make is between taking hold of that opportunity for, you know, phoenix-like transformation, or clinging to things that you don't have, you know, clinging to grief about things that you have lost in the past. Such incredible card. I get lost in Piscean energy. I mean, this is why Pisces season fucks me up so much, is because I just end up kind of drifting around like this, and I'm just like, I cannot focus on one thing. Everything's this dreamy thing, and I feel it off these cards when I'm doing readings for you as well. You know, the fives are about instability and shifts, right? Uncomfortable change. And the lesson with the five is knowing when to let things go, right? Allowing things to end and not focusing on what it is that you've lost, but you know, accepting it for what it is and then moving away from that, as you do with the sixes, right? It always happens in the sixes. And it's interesting that I should say letting things end when we've got a card here that can sometimes talk about endings. Now, I don't like to see the Death card as a flat ending like that. I don't like to see that, because for me it's a very cyclical process, much like the phoenix, the birth and death of the phoenix, you know, and even down to physical death. I do not believe that is the end, and therefore it's merely a changing of state, and that's what transformation is, right? It's a changing of state. You're asked to, you're going to be presented with a choice that will on the one hand give the opportunity to you to change state in some way, whether this is a circumstance or, you know, a relationship or whatever, or you personally, or be stuck on the fact that something is trying to end and you don't want to let it. You know? Usually with the five of cups, like, the thing has ended, and if somebody is just focused on the thing that has ended and not see the opportunities that are, you know, lying around waiting to be picked up. So this is a really important decision, it feels like. But with this Lovers card, I'm feeling like you need to look below the surface. I think that feels like it's the message. You know, don't just take it on its surface appearance. Do a bit of digging, do a bit of diving, and whether that's like internally in your mind or into the situation, it's important. And you're blessed with your own energy here to help you navigate that. So that's good. Right, let's get you some cards of advice. There's 3 cards of advice for Pisces, please. 4 coming now. 3 cards of advice for Pisces. I swear down. Right, we've got one at least. 5 of Skies. That's the 5 of Swords in a standard deck. That's another 5. Another shift. Another possible end. Okay, hang on. Oh, this is really interesting. So, I had 2 cards catapult out at the end, and it's like, look at that. Anyway, the first 2 cards that came out were the 5 of Skies, and then the Sky suit is Swords, and the 2 of Skies, right? So, Fives, we're talking about uncomfortable change. We're talking about shifts again, but this time we're talking about in the sword suit, which governs words and thoughts and communications, things like that, right? So it's possible that you may be required to change the way that you think about particular things, and certainly that would add some credibility to the fact that you need to not just take the surface, you need to go a little bit deeper. You need to change the way that you think about something in order to navigate this block, right? Because this is what it is, two of swords. Two of swords. Didn't this come up for you last time? I'm sure that it did, right? Now the five can sometimes indicate a break in communication. Maybe you need to stop talking to some people. Maybe you need to start talking to some people. That's possible, yeah. But it seems like it's inextricably linked to this Two of Swords, which is this block, right? It's a decision, again, that needs to be made. But with the Two of Swords, it quite often indicates that you already know the answer. You already know which way you're going to go and which of the two options of the choice you intend to go to. Because it's usually got a woman and she's got her two swords up, she's blindfolded and she's got her back to the moon and her back to the water. Now, for me, that's back to emotions and back to intuition, right? So she's depriving herself of the really important tools that are at her disposal to help her make that decision. So she's doing it deliberately, right? She knows what she has to do, but she doesn't actually want to do it. Now, you've got this High Priestess energy showing up really, really strongly at the beginning of this read, of what's coming towards you, at least. It's saying, use that, right? This will help you navigate the Two of Swords. This will help you navigate the block. Sometimes things are tricky. Sometimes things are difficult. Sometimes things need to end. But go with it, right? Just float along with it in that Piscean way that you do. Because you can expect victory if you do, right? There's that phoenix. And then we've got the World card. So the card of a potential ending, except that it's not an ending because these things come in cycles, You're on the brink of levelling up, whether you realise it or not. And the advice is to let those things end that are trying to end in your environment, right? Don't cling to them. And don't overly grieve their passing when they've gone. I used to know someone who said that her grandmother had once said, what's for you won't go by you. And it's one of those things that sounds incredibly sort of trite and kind of like an idle platitude, a bit simplistic as a view of the world. But it's actually incredibly profound, and I don't think I need to explain things that appear simple on the surface, but that turn out to be incredibly profound to Pisces, right? You just get it, you understand it. Let them go, because they weren't for you, is the advice, right? Let it go, let it end, because there's something quite triumphant coming for you. I like it very much. So, my darling fishes, take care, and I will see you again very soon.